Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Paul. I am a nerd, and you are lucky enough, just as the people in the tabs group an hour ago were lucky enough, you are lucky enough to be here for the March 2014 PracticeMaster virtual user group meeting. Today we are talking about document management in version 17.1. It's been improved vastly. We're going to briefly outline how and give you kind of a short peek into that. And also the Worldox integration, which also has been improved in version 17.1. So we're kind of covering it from both sides of the fence today. Mary Jo is going to talk about Worldox integration for those of you that have or are looking at going with a full-featured, full-fledged document management system. And I'm going to be looking at document management as it's built into version 17. It's very powerful, but it's not a Worldox. And we'll briefly touch on how it's not a Worldox as well. But before we do that, a little bit of housekeeping. This right here on my screen is a replica, a representation, if you will, of the GoToWebinar control panel that you probably are either looking at right now on your own screen or that you've already gotten rid of. And the way you get rid of it is by pointing to and clicking on this button that looks like arrows pointing to the right. That will cause this big thing here to slide out of the way. When that happens, this button will change to one that looks like arrows pointing to the left, and clicking it again will cause this to slide into focus. Why would you want to slide it into focus? Sooner or later, everyone's going to answer in unison. But for those of you who don't know, it's so that you can be shy and still ask a question. You can type a question here, you can hit the send button, and Leanne, our humble, capable, and well-dressed moderator, will interrupt Mary Jo or myself at the appropriate time, ask your question on behalf, and get it answered for you. Now, if you're not feeling shy and you have a question, and I'm going to go out on a limb here, because last time I said this, 8 people raised their hand, and none of them were actually there when we unmuted them. But if you click this button here that looks like a hand with an arrow pointing upward in front of it, which means, yep, raise your hand, Leanne will do the same thing, so wait for the opportune time, but she will unmute you and let you ask your own question. Now, when you're in that situation, you are directly communicating with Mary Jo or myself, whoever's answering your question, so feel free to interrupt and say, well, no, I mean this, or what about that? Keep asking your follow-up questions. Make sure we get it answered for you. You can do the same thing if you're typing a question here by continuing to type follow-up questions, which Leanne will continue to monitor. And don't forget when you type a follow-up question to hit the send button so Leanne will see it. So, without further ado, I'm going to press the right buttons, like that one and that one. And, oh, there's my schedule. This one here, and this one, and that one. And I'm going to turn it over to Mary Jo, who's going to talk about Worldox integration in PracticeMaster.
So we are going to talk about Worldox integration in PracticeMaster in version 17. So a lot of things have changed from prior versions. Right away, when I open up my Worldox integration window, you see we have 2 tabs now. We used to only have one, and that was where we chose our profile groups and how we wanted to integrate that with what fields in Worldox. So that looks similar to, oops, Paul, I do not have keyboard and mouse. So yeah, he chose the wrong one.
Oh, let me unmute myself so that they can hear my witty comments. Hold on one second.
Paul
We're going to do this.
Giving me control.
I've had 4 cups of coffee today. And so I'm full of energy and excitement.
We know that you have trouble, relinquishing control. We know that.
There we go. How about now? Can you move it now?
Okay, I think so. There we go. Okay, so when you come into Worldox integration, this profile group screen is going to look a little more familiar. This is how it looked prior to version 17 with a few little differences. The first thing that is huge in version 17 is you can actually profile or set up more than one profile group. Why would you want to do that? Well, you might have a department in your firm that has a totally different set of clients with different fields and different things that you access that a certain group of staff members access. And then you have your normal clients or whatever for the rest of the firm. That could be one reason or why you might have different people accessing different types of profile groups. Before, you could only set up one profile group. Now you can do multiples. And in this situation, there we go. I have several different profile groups that we have set up in ours. Most of you will have your client files, or maybe you've called yours documents, or whatever that is. This is your main profile group. And you would enable that profile group for integration, and you would match up the fields that you bring in for that profile group. You may or may not prepend zeros depending on your preferences with your firm, but this window should look familiar to you if you've ever integrated with Worldox before. Now, if I want to set up a different profile, and let me be clear on this part, each user does not have to set up each of these profile groups. One person, and usually it's probably going to be your administrator, is going to set up the additional profile groups, and then they're going to be available to assign to users at each workstation. We'll talk about that more in a second. So here I am on the profile group. I've got my client fields files already profiled. This is how I want it. I could then go in and I could set up the email profile group. I could enable that one as well, and I could go in and I could choose which fields match, and I can populate those with whatever. And this group, just because it says client field, does not mean that's the client field. This is just some default labels that they put on it, but I have a folder, so I can choose that. On this instance, I really don't have anything specific for my field description. And in this profile, really all we do is we profile to a folder. Now, you might have some other folders. Let me get this one out, and let me go to a different one. Let's go to training and support, and I'm not going to save that other one. We'll enable, and now you'll see on my drop-down, I've got two different things that I could profile to, either who created this or who edited it. These are the only two fields that when I open that profile group that I see. So just keep that in mind. You might have an HR one, or you might have an accounting profile, and you may have completely different fields here, and don't be deceived by the same client field or client field description. These are just the levels in the profile. So I can enable as many profile groups as I want to have people integrate with. I can then, I'm going to uncheck that for now, and then when I get to the user's workstation, I can click on this little user tab, and then I can tell it that this user, as I'm logged in as that user on their workstation, I can say that user has the right to have PracticeMaster and Worldox integration enabled, and they're going to have rights to the client profile group. So that gives them, they're only going to go to the client profile group or client files. Another user might go to the collection client files or whatever profile group that they belong to. And that would only let them integrate through PracticeMaster with the set of clients that they're seeing. You've also got a couple of other options down below. You can restrict the Worldox searches to this profile group, so that makes it a little easier. They're not having searches on all the groups if you don't want them in other areas. There's other ways to restrict that too, but here in PracticeMaster you can say just restrict the search to the client files. And then you also can use custom Worldox search templates. Down here at the bottom, when you're doing a new Worldox install, or I'll tell you another reason this would be important, but when you're doing a new one, we used to have to create a file from PracticeMaster that we would export and create a little file that we could then import into Worldox with all of our profile information for our client name, our matter name, our numbers, our descriptions, things like that. You don't have to do that anymore. We can now just initialize Worldox fields, and then we can just, it will automatically go over when we integrate with Worldox. Now, what happens if you accidentally get your integration broken? This gets turned off for whatever reason, and it's no longer integrating, and you've created some fields you've created some clients in PracticeMaster, and they didn't go over into Worldox because this somehow got shut off. Well, now if you come in and enable it again, and you just click on this Update Field Tables, it will automatically bring those clients that you've created in PracticeMaster and put them over into Worldox. So that is another huge thing. You don't have to go export and re-import that and then make sure that you get everything in there properly. So that was a big change. Let's see. I think that's the big things there. Any questions on that part? No questions, Mary Jo. Okay. The other good feature that they have added is, let me go into my integration, and I'm going to go to my toolbar plugins, and they now have a toolbar that you can install in Worldox. So again, just like you install any of the other toolbars, you can install the Worldox plugin, and just like in Word or Excel or Adobe or Internet Explorer or any of those programs where it puts that little toolbar where you can create a calendar record, a fee record, a journal record, all those things, it will create a toolbar in Worldox. So you install the toolbar. When I come into, whoops, that's the wrong one, Paul. Where's your Worldox? Okay, he doesn't have it open. There we go. So in Worldox, I now have a PracticeMaster toolbar. And if I do my drop-down, you can see I could create a calendar record, a fee record, a journal record, and I also can open Matter Manager right from Worldox. So I can go back, click that, and it'll open Matter Manager in PracticeMaster. Now, it's up here on the toolbar. And also, if you right-click on the, oops, I've lost my mouse again. Nope, I think I'm locked up a little bit. But if you right-click, just like you can add buttons up here for find, content help, comments, any of those things, you also can right-click and you can add these buttons right out onto your main toolbar. So I can have these icons, all 4 of these, out here on my main toolbar. Yeah. Can you move? No? Oh, okay. Well, I'm going to have you go. Oh, here we go. So now the other thing, let's say that you don't want everybody to have the rights to do all these things. Now, creating a calendar record or a fee record or opening Matter Manager probably makes sense. But do you really want to create a journal record in PracticeMaster when you're already saving the document in Worldox? That could be yes or no. You might want to just restrict that. Or maybe you don't want anybody to bill, I don't know why, but maybe you wouldn't want them to bill a fee record from a document in Worldox. So you want to just kind of limit what they can do here. Well, if you go under File and go to Send To and go to your Add Edit feature here, if you scroll down a little bit, we have some menu items here about sending to PracticeMaster to create a calendar record, the fee record, the journal record, and the Matter Manager. Let's say I want to turn off the ability for them to see the Create Journal Record. Right here, I can highlight on it or select it, and up here I can block that Send To, and I can, if I'm a manager, I can do it for only me, or I can do it for everyone. If I am not a manager, I'm only going to have the right to do it for me only. So I'm just going to say for only me and say OK. And now I've got the little minus sign there. I have blocked the Create Journal Record from being allowed. So if I come in here now and do my drop down, you can see it's not even a choice anymore. I don't even have that on my toolbar. And same thing if I had put the icons on my main toolbar over here, that would not be available to put on there because I've hidden it. So again, that's under File. And I know it's a little deceiving because you're not really sending to per se, but this is where those are to turn those settings off. So File, Send To, and then I just scroll down to where it has my PracticeMaster information. And if I want to then turn that on, I can, again, highlight it. I can allow it, again, for only me, or if you're a manager, for everyone. And now I've turned that back on. And so now when I come back out, they've got all 4 options again. So, again, very enhanced integration with version 17. If you don't have version 17, obviously you don't have some of these figures here, but we can talk about your integration and what your options are. So if you have any questions on that, you can contact us, and I'm going to turn it over to Paul. Anything to add or any questions,
Any questions, Leanne?
You know, I just got disconnected from my GoToMeeting, so I can't see if there's any questions right now. I'm reconnecting.
Well,
here, I'll take a look and let Paul go ahead and get started.
Okay, well, I'm going to talk about PracticeMaster's enhanced document management in version 17. And so why would you want PracticeMaster document management instead of Worldox? A couple reasons. And vice versa. Why would you want Worldox instead of PracticeMaster? Worldox is a more full-featured document management system. It's going to allow certain functionality that PracticeMaster doesn't allow. For one thing, it's going to allow you to save every document from any program to Worldox, and it's even usually set up in such a way that that is required. So if you're looking for that level of a lockdown, if you will, where users are forced to put documents away in the DMS, in the document management system, Worldox will give that to you, PracticeMaster won't. Why would you want to get to PracticeMaster instead? Well, one thing, a lot of people don't need that lockdown. A lot of people don't need the enhanced functionality. And PracticeMaster, if you've already got it, then adding the document management from PracticeMaster is pretty much free. Now, I want to point out, unlike certain other functionality within PracticeMaster, you really need to plan how you're going to implement document management using PracticeMaster. You don't just one day start saving documents into PracticeMaster and nobody else does. I suppose that's possible, but you really want the firm to be on the same page as far as how documents are saved, where they're saved. So it is something that does have an inherent cost, even though you don't have to buy additional software. You need to spend some time planning. You need to spend some time and probably get some help from us in implementing it and getting people trained and getting it set so that they do this right. But it's significantly less expensive than Worldox. Just So you know Worldox is about $500 per seat to start out. PracticeMaster is roughly $320 per seat to start out. And you get all the other stuff of PracticeMaster if you don't already have it. And if you do already have it, then it's free because it's already there. So with that said, what's new? Well, a big thing is the ability to have PracticeMaster automatically name and put your documents away for you. In order to show you this, I'm going to go over into not our copy of PracticeMaster, but our demo copy of PracticeMaster, and we're going to load up that package real quick. And we're going to sign in as Ron. Ron is a user in this demo system that has full rights, and therefore he is going to be able to go in and show you what I want to show you. He's also got some alarms, so they're going to pop in a second. We'll get rid of those. He's also got an e-note. He's got all sorts of stuff because this is my demo system, and I want to show all sorts of stuff that we don't care about right now. And so I'm going to go into customization, and from there I'm going to go into the Documents tab, and I'm going to show you that PracticeMaster can be set to automatically assign the folder and file names at the time that the document is saved. What does that mean? That means that when you put a document away in PracticeMaster, all you do is fill out the document profile screen where you're specifying the document name, or what they call the description, who the responsible and created by parties are, the users. It automatically is tagging it with the date it was created and modified and the time and that sort of thing. And you can specify a document type. And since that's a PracticeMaster file that's holding this document management record, it can be customized. So you can add neat fields like maybe a checkbox to indicate that this is a signed document, or perhaps a field to indicate whether it's located in the safe. If you do a lot of estate planning and you have a signed document, and you also want to indicate those signed wills that are also in the safe, you can add those fields to your document management profile. So when you've set it to automatically assign the document folder and file names, it will automatically put the document away for you once you answer these questions about what the name should be, what document type it should be, and any other fields you've added. You can also configure what folders they're going to. A typical one is client, followed by matter ID. Sometimes you'll have the document type in here. So for instance, here we'd have Doe John. His client number is 123, and his matter number in this particular example is 45. You also can configure how the files are named. Here we have date and description. In an implementation we just did a couple weeks ago in Cleveland, we also added the initials of the responsible attorney to the document name. And that just means that later on, if somebody were to have to decipher how these documents were stored, they'd have meaningful document names and meaningful folder structures without the user having to do any of that. And I think that's huge. I think the fact that the document management system is putting away the document for you is significant in that they're getting put in the right place and they're then being found in the right place. Now, a couple other things. Let's pull up a client. And I think Mr. Larson has quite a few documents. We'll find out, won't we? Yep, there we go. So here are the documents that Mr. Larson has in the system for his matter, or that we have for Mr. Larson's matter. We can look at them by document type. We have fee agreements, letters, medical records, records. We can look at them by extension. They're all docs, but if there were PDFs, there'd be a tab here for PDF. If there were Excel spreadsheets, there'd be an XLS tab. We can look at My Docs. I didn't create any of these, so none of these are My Docs. This is what a document management record looks like. We have the ability to store comments. We have a description. We have the date that it was created, the client ID, of course. We can also tag a document to a contact. We have a document type, and these are definable. Here's some examples: records, quote, pleading, petition, notice, motion. Firms usually do a lot of work to that and make that their own. Created by and responsible. And as I said, we can add fields. We could have a checkbox that says signed, or a checkbox that says in safe, or any other number of fields that you may have that are important to you in storing documents. Another cool thing about document management in PracticeMaster's version 17 is versioning. Now, this particular document doesn't have any versions, so what we're going to do is we're going to load it. And you can open a document by simply clicking the hyperlink within the record, or by clicking the hyperlink in the snapshot. Either way, it'll load, in this instance, Word. And I'm going to make a change. I'm going to add a word, and then I'm going to save it as a new version. I apologize, my Word has not loaded today. I'm just back from 4 days on the road, and I haven't even gotten into Word yet. So it takes a minute to load. And I'm just going to add the word not. Drugs not administered. I'm going to click on PracticeMaster. I'm going to click on PM Save. And I'm set to integrate with the wrong system. Hold on 1 second. At least when we come back into Word, it'll be quick. Mary Jo, you want to tell a lawyer joke while I'm doing this? She's laughing, but I don't hear her telling a lawyer joke. She doesn't have any lawyer jokes. Hold on 1 second. This, I did that for a reason. This is how we turn on the integration. I'm going to go to Word. I'm going to do the PracticeMaster document plugin for Word. I'm going to authenticate. I'm going to hope I didn't hit any buttons wrong. I'm going to notice that I didn't really close Word. Boy, it sure would be fill the dead air here if Mary Jo were telling a lawyer joke. No, it's not. It gave me an error. Weren't you paying attention? PLMNB. Okay, you must restart. Okay, we're going to try this again. I'm going to cross my fingers. We're going to load this document. These darn demo systems, people always in there messing around with stuff, probably me. We're going to add that word again, drugs not administered. We're going to go to PM Save. Mary Jo, cross your fingers, but just one set. And it says, what do you want to do? Do you want to just update the document management record with the saved document, or do you want to actually add a new version? I'm going to say changed stipulation. The reason is just something to help you recall what that particular version added or changed or brought to the table. And now when I look at this document management record, I have two versions. I have the original document, and I have the one that I labeled as changed stipulation. So that is huge, because what that means is when we look at this list of documents, we still only have one letter, one document, should I say, but we have multiple versions. So no longer are you forced to name a document in such a way that allows you to know what version it was and having to maintain that naming convention and try to keep those documents, different versions of the same document together when you're looking for them. You now look at it as one record with multiple versions. Another feature that's new to PracticeMaster's document management is the ability to check out a document. Now, of course, if I were to open this document and then moments later Mary Jo were to open it, since we're both on the same network, Mary Jo would be told that I have this document in use. But if I wanted to take it home and work on it, and let's say I did do that and I made a change, and after I left, Mary Jo took it home, put it on a flash drive and took it to her home, and then both of us edited it, and both of us came back in and put it back in PracticeMaster. How many versions are there going to be? One. And which one's going to be the predominant version, or the only version, I should say? Whoever stored it last. So if we check out a document instead, that allows us to take this document and put it somewhere on a flash drive, on a local drive, whatever you want, however you're going to get it to wherever you're going to work on it, and while it's checked out, if Mary Jo goes and tries to pull it up, it's going to say, Paul has this document checked out. Versioning and checked out and checked in documents are two features that have been in Worldox for a long time but are new to PracticeMaster and really bring this document management to a whole new level. Having the auto-naming, that's huge as well. There are a whole host of other small changes, but those are the biggies. Of course, now that we've got those documents in there, we can go into document search, and we can search our range of documents for any word. And we do now also have the ability to put something called Symphony in. What is Symphony? Well, let's say I'm searching documents, and I've put a whole bunch of PDFs in here, maybe that were emailed to me, maybe some that came over from our original documents that we had before we put in PracticeMaster Document Management, and they're not readable. If they're not readable, then using search here is not going to find that text within the document. The thing about searching using this functionality is it's not only going to look at the record that we create in PracticeMaster, it's also going to look at the document. And if those PDFs are readable, they are also going to be searchable. What do I mean by readable? Well, a PDF of a scanned document is really a picture. Unless you take the extra step of making it readable, it's sometimes referred to as OCRing it, making it, implementing optical character recognition to make it a readable document. How can you tell if it's readable? Well, I don't know where I'll find a PDF. Let's go look real quick. How about an article on legal infrastructure? That sounds like fun. If you go into a document and highlight text and you don't actually get the text, let's find some real text, and instead you move the document around, or depending on how you're set, you may also be creating a rectangle as you move, click, and then move, then it is not readable. If instead when I click and move I'm actually highlighting bits of text, letter at a time, then it's readable. So that's your quick and easy way to know when a document, a PDF document, is readable. When it's originally scanned, if it's not made readable at that very moment, it's not going to be readable. Symphony is a product that can walk around in the background, so to speak, recognizing all the new documents that are PDF'd as the day goes on, or that are stored in the document store that are PDFs as the day goes on, and it can make them readable instantly and in the background. So we now have the ability not only for PracticeMaster to be able to search these PDFs and store them and put them away in the right way and allow us to check them out and check them back in, and all the other neat features that document management in version 17 brings to the table. But we also have, with the release of this new type of Symphony, it used to only work with Worldox. Now we have the ability to make those PDFs readable at the same time. So in a nutshell, that is the new document management. Now, if you're interested, I'll show you in a minute how to go out to our website and find all sorts of other video content, including the recorded sessions of the virtual user group meetings like you're listening to now. But we also have a webinar that I put on about 2 weeks ago, I believe, that goes into even more detail and shows even more about this new document management within PracticeMaster. It's about 35, 40 minutes long, so obviously it covers a lot more than I was able to in the 13 to 15 minutes that I was babbling. Do we have any questions, Leanne?
No questions, Paul.
Everybody's asleep. So here we go. If you go out to our website, which is attorneycomputersystems.com, don't forget you'll know you're there when you see my red tie and my white shirt. If you scroll down, we have all 3 virtual user group meetings, including the Worldox virtual user group meeting, which meets on the second Monday of every month. We also have our Coffee Pot webinars, our eBytes video series that Mary Jo records, and the Paul and Mary Jo Show. Yes, it is really called the Paul and Mary Jo Show. But if you go to the Coffee Pot webinars and scroll down, you'll find that one of them is on document management and PracticeMaster, the new frontier with version 17. So be sure to take a look at that. And by the way, if you ever want to go back and look at a PracticeMaster or Tabs virtual user group meeting that you've missed, they are all listed here in reverse date order. So just keep scrolling until you find the one you want. We've got descriptions and titles, so you can pretty easy to zero in on what's out there. Just so you know, the next PracticeMaster virtual user group meeting, which is a month from now, the last Monday of April, will be on PracticeMaster reports that already exist, that come with PracticeMaster, but that most people don't know about. Mary Jo's going to talk about that. And I'm going to talk about taking a filter that you may already have and turning it into a quick tab. A lot of people have written filters, but they kind of hide over in the quick clicks area of PracticeMaster. And a new version 17 feature called Quick Tabs or Quick Views allows you to bring those out right into the list so that you can get to that filter very easily without having to find it. So everybody have a good rest of the day, rest of the week, rest of the month. We will see you in the end of April. Bye-bye.